All right. Here again. You're both muted right now.
It wasn't letting me. It's so weird. I was punching,
Oop.
punching video, punching video, punching video. Wouldn't let me on.
No, that's
So
okay.
tired of this. I'm so tired of this. Oh my God. I just had a call with another host too, who was scheduling a big show. And I sent the emails to her, didn't go through. Sent the emails to her, didn't go through. And then during the call, it was interrupted, 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 interrupted. It's just like, I'm so sick of the agencies.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
sick.
We should explain too for our viewers who are following up from last one that we were texting you and we were letting you know, and nothing ever went through on the last one. That's like that's why when I posted on Twitter, I said surprise, surprise, because we knew they're always messing with your technology over there. So it
That's
was
exactly right. That's
yeah.
exactly right. They make you out to be rude, and like they'll actually say to people that the message has gone through, but not show me.
Yeah.
Or I'll see it come. I had attorney law schools that wanted to be involved in our process to help us, and the girl was very nice. One of the law students sent a messages saying their team was very excited to do it. The reply and message back to me showed up 3 months later
Oh, wow.
after they had, like they pitched. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And just so everybody else is aware, the when we're talking three-way on a telephone call, Tom was talking and he got some points through, but almost every word was like cut out, and it was so hard
Yeah.
to do like anything. Like, luckily, you got your point across to us, but that was just a normal phone call. We weren't doing anything like crazy, but they really mess with your technology. It's kind of scary to see, really.
And
Yeah.
the profiles, yeah, online. If you Googled my name, I had no idea. I have some great people teaming up with me now that are redoing everything, making the websites, all that stuff. They're making it happen, which the other side's probably shuddering to death. And they pointed out that if you Googled me, I look like a homeless person. There were other people that were putting up images, doctored, whatever, of me. And it made me look like I was some poor Dennis Quaid, bless his heart. It looked like, I was like this guy living out of a box. And it's like, I like to dress up. I like wearing tuxes, suits. I get mocked for it, I like to articulate, be, groomed. And it's like the image online made me look like I was somebody who like, chewed on pebbles and played with diapers. So yeah.
Wow. Yeah, yeah. So, all right. Well, kick things off again. We'll introduce everybody. Once again, with me is Tom Outhouse, the writer of the Immortals screenplay, Stolen, used to create the Matrix movies. Also have Elizabeth Dove, better known as Madam Punisher on X, formerly Twitter. Just a extreme researcher, just a great voice for the truth movement. Does tons of work, and yeah, and then I am Joe Roselle, a Medicare broker, mainly here in Arizona, also in Michigan, doing my thing for years. And today, I guess I realized that they're starting to dig into Tom more. They've been everybody's been doing a whole bunch of shit to stuff to Lizzy, and things are going off, and I just figured eventually people are going to start digging into me. So I wanted to kind of put things out there, my life, my struggles, things I've gone through, and just throw it out there so that when people dig stuff up about me, it's not a surprise to anybody. So if either of you has
Well,
anything you want to talk about before we get going, but that's kind of what I wanted to do today to start.
it's not only that, but it's when they uncover stuff. It's your story, not somebody else's interpretation of.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
That was never there. That was never. They didn't even ask you about it. They're just gonna run with whatever they think. Um, and I think that's important is that you get your story out there.
Right.
Um,
Exactly. Yeah.
that there's a quote, and I think it was a lie spreads halfway around the world before the truth gets its pants on.
Wow.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you're getting ahead of it. So
Yeah.
that's good.
And
And the other thing, yeah, the other thing too is when they have this tactic of saying you're thinking this, or she is doing this, or she wants to do this, or she's planning this. The only person that knows best what that individual is going to do is the person is that individual.
Hmm.
It's like I can't believe they get away with saying things like, in your case, they'd be like, well, Lizzie's wanting to do this. Lizzie's plan is this. You feel this, don't you? this is what you, or they don't even ask it that. I turned it into something nice right there. I can't help it. But it's like, they would actually go like, we know what you're doing. We know what you're after. We know what you want. It's like, no, you don't.
No, you don't. No, you
Yeah.
don't. You don't know me.
You have no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like even the last video, I mean that video has more traction than anything we've done so far already. It's only been a week, but there's already at least one guy on there commenting that Lizzy's a liar, Lizzy's doing this. He's bringing up points that she didn't even talk about in the last video, and it's starting a big fight in this conversation. And it's like I want to be free speech. That's what we're all about. So I let the conversation go, but it's like, wow, these people don't even watch, and they have opinions on everything, and they're trying to discredit everything she says without even listening. So
yeah, and just to be clear, I'm not gonna fight with these people.
Right.
Yeah.
And I will tell you why. They've already made up their minds. There is nothing I can say or do that will change that mind. You
Right.
know, it just is what it is. I mean, like literally, there is nothing I can do to and their reality. And I say their reality because it's not ours. You know, in their reality, in whatever fantasy land they're in, you know, they've made up their mind. Nothing I could say or do will change that. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter how much evidence I put down. Their
Mhm.
mind, they're set.
You
And
know, yeah.
so I am not fighting with them. I am not engaging with them. I don't want to have anything to do with them. They can go off and like cry about me in their own little corners. I don't care.
Yeah.
You know what makes them want to change their mind later? They'll go like, when you're successful, they usually come forward, and then they want to, it's like there's
Well,
something, then they want to be, I didn't mean that. It was somebody else that talked me into it. I wasn't, how many times I've heard that,
you know, and the thing is that they're trying to mess with people's lives and whatnot in ways that are really devious, and they're doing it behind the veil of truth, and
Right.
they're and making excuses for it that are just absolutely out of this world. And I've done nothing.
Yeah.
Right.
I supported a friend. You're going to get upset about that? By
Yeah.
all means. Okay, it's not going to help stop me from supporting a friend, somebody I care about. Um, you know, like seriously, and it's not going to change my mind about this person.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I think a lot of it. I think a lot of it is, the whole Q movement, the whole thing. It shows how much people want a hero, and people before everybody knew about Q and they went mainstream and all that. There was true researchers. They were all getting together. They were sharing their research. It was a real truth movement. And then
hmm
when it became mainstream, it's like everybody jumped on. And then after years of waiting and not hearing much from Q, the whole thing kind of went away. This
well,
hero that everybody had disappeared. So they made heroes out of people in the movements. And now these people in the movements have so much power because everybody's following them that they can say and manipulate the minds of all these people that think they're just getting the truth and don't want to do any research themselves.
And you know
can,
what's
can,
really going on? Go ahead. Yeah.
Can I say something about that? Because you mentioned them making heroes out of people, and I got news for you. Not a single one of them, including myself, is a freaking hero.
Yeah.
Okay? I mean, you could dress us up in capes all you want, but not one of them, not a single one of them is a hero. You know what they are? They're human.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
They all have pasts, they all have flaws, they all have strengths, they all have talents, they all have, great ideas and wrong ideas. Every single one of them.
Mhm.
And for anybody to put anybody on a pedestal, you are going to be sorely disappointed. Do not meet your heroes because the idea that you have with that person isn't exactly what comes across in real life.
Right.
Because in real life is what all the stuff that you don't see. It's all the flaws and the wart that they have on the side of their nose, or the balding head, or whatever. I mean, like you know
Yeah.
It's funny
but
you say that. I love the people that have humility and don't try to draw attention to themselves. They would be, because I said I never had heroes, but I love those people that actually have humility and compassion. I'm like, yeah, that's my favorite people. My favorite people.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But no, I mean, like, they're gonna have bad breath and stinky feet and everything else in between. So I mean, it's just don't make heroes out of these people. Admire them for what they do and their actions and whatnot, but they're not heroes. They're not superheroes. They're not perfect.
Yep, exactly. And yeah, that actually kind of ties into my whole story. And hopefully I can, when I'm done, I'll loop it back around. I think I can connect all that. Anything else before I get started, or?
Just when you're done, I have something to show you, which shows how outlandish it gets. So visual that Stephen Yassel put together. I think you guys will enjoy it and show you how they get into the woo-woo world on. So yeah, go ahead.
So,
The
okay.
woo-woo world. Wow. Okay. I know what my mom means when she says woo-woo. So I'm not sure if what you mean and what my mom means.
I mean, like the brain has left the building. These people,
Okay,
like, what?
because when my mom says woo-woo, what she's talking about, don't take a drink when I say this. When she says woo-woo, what she's talking about is people like being kinky.
Oh, wow. Well, I better check my Thomas Althouse dictionary here because yeah, I think
So,
that's great. Yeah, I have something to show you where they really got kinky. Yeah. Hey Tom, bring it on, buddy. Thanks.
Wow, this show just got spicy.
so,
Vascoing. Okay, go ahead.
all right. All right. Well, I have thought about things I want to talk about. I've thought about key points that I want to make, but I didn't write any of it down because I want it to be like trying natural flow. But if I get caught up and I have to jump back and forth, I apologize automatically or immediately. So yeah, starting from the beginning, I want to do this. I've been doing videos with Tom for, well, our first interview was what, like 2 years ago with me and Vanessa. And then we've been pretty consistent every couple of weeks, maybe month or so, doing at least one show. And I realized that basically no one, I've never really told anybody who I am or anything about me. And I've liked it that way. I don't do this for the attention. I don't do this to get followers. I don't, I just do it because I feel like we get a lot of truth out there. I'm throwing it on the internet. Whether or not people look into it, it doesn't matter to me, but at least it's out there. And that's kind of why I like doing these. And just I always appreciate Tom coming on, just to have someone that knows so much and has been through so much to join me has been a great honor for me.
Thanks,
So
likewise.
yeah, so let me go ahead and try and start and see if I get through this all right, and then we'll switch back to normal conversation. But so I was born in Western Michigan, Grand Rapids area. Grew up there most of my life. Born into a Christian family, so I've had a relationship with Jesus, who I choose to call Yeshua, my entire life. I call him Yeshua because I feel that honors his true name. I believe that the name Jesus was kind of created for Western civilization. I don't blame you if you call him that, but out of respect, I call him Yeshua. Anyway, so I went through my early years. Was always in church, always in Sunday school, always doing my thing. Got got I was always very good in elementary school as far as intelligence and doing well on grades and all that stuff. Got into sixth grade and got into a position where I was in a very tough class. I was in an advanced class and I would like do my homework and I'd forget to turn it in. And I would, some things I just would completely forget. And so in sixth grade, I was actually diagnosed with ADD and put on ADD medicines that early. Started on like Ritalin back then, and then it moved to, I think it's Concerta or something. And when I got to high school, I was put on Adderall basically full time, where I was force fed it. Have to go to the nurse's office every day. Show up. They would watch me take the pills. I was basically force fed Adderall all through high school. In the meantime, right around 6th grade, I became the first kid with a really bad acne condition. So I was dealing with the acne, dealing with the ADD stuff, dealing with all that going into like middle school and high school. And obviously through that, I became, I had a lot of bouts with depression. Also being on Adderall and those stimulants all the time, it made me pretty awkward in social situations. I had a lot of acquaintances, and I was one of those guys that was like cool with all the groups, but I wasn't really in any of the groups, so I had my certain friends in each area, but I never really got super close to anybody. As high school started to go on, probably like 10th grade, I started to get into drinking a little bit. And my parents were always social, so they would drink, and that made it relatively easy because quite often they'd have some liquor bottles around, things like that. The other reason I got more into it was just because I would get home at the end of the day and still be super hyped up from being on Adderall like the entire day. So it was extremely hard for me to sleep. So most school days when I wasn't drinking, I would be up till 3, 4 in the morning, get maybe 2, 3 hours of sleep, get up at 7, get to school, start on the Adderall again, and it was just a continuous cycle of 2, 3 hours of sleep, and then when finally I was off the Adderall on like Saturdays, I'd sleep till 2, 3 in the afternoon just to kind of catch up, and it was just a weird pattern. But the drinking started getting a little heavier because I noticed that if I drank enough, I would just crash out. So it was like self-medicating to counteract the stimulants that I was forced to be on. Um, you know, um, then after high school, probably, I gained a couple friends who really enjoyed the drinking aspect of things. So they would always come over to my house. I had like a basement apartment to myself. So we would just, we would get someone to buy us a handle of cheap rum or vodka or whatever it was. And the three of us would just get torn up in my basement, and it became kind of a pattern of things right after high school. Um, Went to community college, did like a year and a half of a business degree at community college. Didn't know if that's what I wanted to do. Was dropped out with the intention of going back and starting a physics path in community college, and at the same time was working at a steel heat treating factory or facility. So I was working full time doing college also. Ended up just dropping it out, dropping the college out, never finished my associates. And I was about, I don't know, like 6 credits short or something of getting my associates. So that, that I'll come back to that in a second. But anyway, so worked at a steel treating plant for about another year after that, and got decided I needed to go back to college. So enrolled at Western Michigan University, which is in Kalamazoo, Michigan. The reason I say I was just short of my associates, if I would have finished my associates, it all would have transferred. But because I started right into a 4 year, I ended up losing something like 19 credit hours or something. I lost like a year and a half of credits when I transferred. So I had to basically start out from scratch at Western. Started out with a let's see, major in business with a minor in Chinese. And then after about 2 semesters, I realized that I'm not that good at memorization. And to learn Chinese, you not only have to learn how to say each word, but you also have to learn what the symbol is for each word. So basically, for every one word in English, there's two things to learn in Chinese, and it just got overwhelming. So I ended up switching, I guess, majors complete. I dropped that minor, switched to food marketing major. Um, and I told you I'd forget stuff and need to come back. So what also happened right while I was still in high school that I should have covered, I was 17 years old and I was driving in northern Michigan, Coming down off Adderall, coming down from a golf course. I had just had a terrible round. My partner in the car was a jerk all day long. I was in a terrible bad mood, and we're driving home, and the turn is kind of like a Y. So this road's going straight, and my turn goes this way. So I, without thinking, just started to make my turn. Realized there was a car coming at me, so I swerve back, and this car swerves. I complete my turn after that stop, and I'm checking the mirrors, and all I see is dust. And my passenger in the car says that he saw the other car. It was up, driving away, no big deal. So I'm like, okay, okay. So I take off from there, go down the road. Well, it turns out that the other car had gone into the ditch, came back out of the ditch, went back into the ditch, and when it came out a second time, it rolled, and one of the passengers ended up in critical condition.
Oh no.
So, yeah, so I ended up with a felony fleeing the scene of a personal injury accident, which got worked down to felonious driving charge. That has stuck with me. Basically, well, I'll get a little more to it, but I've been a felon since I was 18 years old. Um, so back to the college days, I ended up graduating with my food marketing degree. However, when I went to apply for jobs, as you both probably know, pretty much the entire food industry is controlled by about 10 different companies.
Yep.
And those companies all just had a blanket policy that they would not hire felons. So I graduated with my 4-year degree and could not find a job anywhere. Ended up getting into a medical collections agency right after college, uh, just to get a job. And after about a year of that, that's when I went completely manic for the first time and ended up in the hospital. I was in the hospital. I was freaking out. They were giving me pills. I didn't want to take them, so I would mouth the pills and then get back and spit them out. After about 10 days, they said I was good. So I was able to get my mind back under control by myself. Got out. Then, of course, everybody around me is saying, "Wow, you just got out." They're trying to limit what I do. Got to go to bed. You got to do all this stuff. And it ended up freaking me out again. I went in again. They found out I wasn't taking pills, so they like forced me to open my mouth and forced me to sit there for like 5 minutes at a time.
Jeez.
Yeah. Ended up getting out again, and went back in again because I quit taking my pills. And then I was, after that, I was given injections of antipsychotics at that point because they were so worried I couldn't take my pills. The injections caused neurological damage, which I've spoken about on here before. And it causes involuntary muscle movements, which if you watch me on here, I'm sure I twitch my face a little bit, things like that. It actually caused my eyes to close so that I couldn't even open them. Now I have to get Xeomin injections every 4 months, otherwise my eyes will not open, or at least not enough to function in society. All that stuff just from the psychotics or the antipsychotics, and I guess throughout the years, basically what would happen is I would go for about a year. I'd be quarter to take my pills. After that, go for about a year and decide that I wanted to feel what it felt like to be manic again, at least to a certain extent. And I'm going to go more into all this in a second. I just want to give a brief overview of everything that happened first. But so throughout the years, I would end up taking my meds for about a year, going off pills, and then after about another year, I'd end up in the mental hospital again. So I lost count, but I think I've actually had probably close to 15 times where I was put into the mental institution, like inpatient stay for things. Um, I'm on disability, which I'm sure people can dig up. I've had a lot of different things happen. Actually, right now I'm working on getting it off, but they still have the seriously mentally ill label. And 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 I've been out of the I haven't been to the hospital in about 7 years, but it's ironic because I was actually off pills the first time I reached out to Tom before that first interview. And then I reached out, we had a bunch of chats, and then they found out I wasn't on pills at that point. So when you see me in the first interview, it's back to heavily medicated, which is why Vanessa did most of the talking, because I was kind of back like just medicated to the point where I couldn't think at that point. So that's kind of the story. Been been mentally stable for the last 7 years or so, more except for maybe a few times. Um, then I guess the points I want to get across, though, I never lost my relationship with Yeshua, and that's why I brought it up in the beginning. I always had faith. I always believed. I've done mission trips to Guatemala where like we would be in the middle of a town and speaking speaking to these people, and the entire sky around me, as far as I could see, was all storms, cloud storms, lightning, except right above our head was clear sky. There was like a circle right above the villages where we were speaking, and I would see the cloud circle around as we're sharing the gospel. Another other time I was there, we were in the middle of giving medicine to villagers. They have extreme parasite problems, so we were bringing parasite meds and all these different things to these villagers. And it was raining like crazy. And then the group of us would get in a circle and pray, and the rain would stop for a while, and then it would start again, and then it would get heavier. And when it got heavier, we'd pray again, and it was like we were able to pray, and God would help us with weather. So there's no doubt in my mind that Yeshua is the real deal, the absolute king, the best to ever do it, the one that we should look after. And I'm going to get a little more into that in a second, but I wanted to touch base on some of the mental health, the going manic stuff. Basically, what happened the first time. Actually, it's kind of ironic because I watched Matrix for the first time either my senior year in high school or just after. I remember it was on DVD at that point, so it wasn't 99. I graduated in 02, so it was somewhere between 99 or between like 2000 and 2002. And that's watching The Matrix was what first opened me to this idea that this world around us is just some kind of like game. Like it's not really real. There's something more going on. And then I got into college, had my first girlfriend. Wasn't it was just kind of a girlfriend. I didn't really love her or anything. She loved me, but it was like kind of unreciprocated. It was one way. Ended up getting with and eventually I guess I took what's called LSA, which is natural seeds that give you kind of the same effect as LSD, but they're a natural thing. At that point, that was the first time I really did that. I had done like mushrooms before that, but that was the first time I did that. Sat in my room and realized like the complexity of the lives around us, the world as it was. Like I just went into my own head, and ended up breaking up with that girlfriend not much later after that night. Actually had sat down and wrote like 10 pages of kind of a biography or autobiography of myself at that point. But anyway, so that relationship ended and I kind of got a view of the world. And then I got in the next relationship, and this girl I absolutely loved and she loved me. I knew the consequences of getting physical too early. So we actually held off doing anything physical for 3, 4 months, just really got to know each other. And it was really eye opening, I guess, because we had such a great relationship. And then as soon as we started to get sexual, it all changed. Like I became possessive. She felt her own ways. And oh wow, it's almost been it's been a half hour already. I'm yapping on. But anyway,
It's okay.
That's fine.
so so with with this girl, you know, we got close, and she was actually able to get me into what's called a neurotherapist, who would hook me to these devices, like readers, and it would hold basically my energy up through my body. And if there was like blocks or my energy was going the wrong way, I would be listening to music or watching a movie, and the music would skip or the movie would skip or whatever, so that my body subconsciously knew to redirect my energy. And that's, I guess, at that point, that's when I realized the truth behind chakras, and that energy centers on your body are real. Um, she, you know, and so I got that. And then sometime during our relationship, I was shown the Alex Jones documentary. And I'm not saying one thing or other about Alex Jones, but I watched the movie Endgame. And I think when I watched Endgame, that's when the realization between the Matrix and reality, like it all clicked for me. Like I was like, holy cow, there's really people out there running this world, putting a shadow in front of our eyes that are have the intentions of killing us all. And that's you know, after I watched Endgame, I did like a 3-day fast, just really was trying to figure out what to do. And yeah, and it was at that point that I started trying to speak to people in person, you know, like trying to get my point across. Like, you guys got to understand what's going on. And of course, no one was awake at that point. This was like 2007 or something, and no one knew anything about anything. And so I was getting desperate. And then that girlfriend ended up taking a trip to, she went to be a student abroad in Australia. And she she we had a big fight before we she left. She We were very distant the whole time she was gone, and she got back and broke up with me, which just devastated me. um Put me into a massive depression. This was the same time I started working at that call center doing medical collection, so I was in a depression. Pulled myself out of it, got to the first stages of mania. um Found a new girl, and the new girlfriend actually was violently raped, like knives to the thighs, that kind of rape, like tied to the bed, knives to thigh stuff. So when we found each other, we were both in just a really weird mental spat. Ended up going crazy, but not crazy, but we just kind of flew together for a couple months, like both kind of in our own manic state, just doing whatever. And it was right, like towards the end of that relationship when I went into the mental institution for the first time, you know, when I finally lost touch with reality. And I've only got 6 minutes here, so I'm going to try and finish it up before this gets done. But anyway, so that started the cycle. And you know, she broke up with me, and then things happen which weren't super important, so I'll skip a lot of it. I guess the point I wanted to get back to is that I have experienced, through early stages of mania, I have experienced being able to pull energy in and like push it out. And I've had people tell me they've felt healed from certain pains and things just by me taking energy in and pushing it out into their body. I also am a big believer that everything is a vibration, and I'm a big believer in um, you know, that sound can heal. And I believe, you know, I already said I believe in the chakras, and I believe in all these things, but I didn't give up my belief in Yeshua. And I guess the main point I was trying to come across, is that maybe there's more to God than just the Bible. And I believe that God is knowable, and Yeshua is knowable through the Bible. And I believe the truths that are there are enough to get a start. I also believe that God is so big, and there's such a huge plan that I think I guess the point I was trying to bring it all back to is that if you try and do it alone, or you try and do these other methods, you like, if you just do sound frequencies, or you just do chakras, or you just do energy, or you just do all these other things, you open yourself up to demonic entities coming in and telling you different things. Because that's what I experienced through the mania. It was like I could feel clarity, I could feel God around me, I could feel everything was a part of God, I could feel the unity. But at some point, the voices that you're hearing and the spirits that you're hearing change to demonic, and they're telling you things that are very bad for you and very bad for the world. And so down to 4 minutes, I rambled, but anyway, so I guess the point I was trying to come back to was to bring it to Lizzy, and that, the all these things and all these people in this truth movement, if they're looking for a human hero, it's going to mislead them. They're looking for someone to, yeah, someone to come and step up and save the world. It will probably be given to us. I have evidence to think that it might even be Trump, which would make total sense with the Q movement turning on themselves and finding abstract heroes to look after. I see Trump coming back, and Trump making world peace, and Trump doing all these things. And, everybody's going to look to him like this great Messiah figure. Like, even the Jews have given him the crown that they saved for thousands of years for the Messiah. They gave that to him, and they gave him a menorah inscribed with Prince of Peace. And there's so many things. It's like, it makes total sense that the Q movement, the liberals that are on the fence, all these different people will be united behind one guy, and it's going to be just this massive deception to lead the world into destruction. And with the whole the truth movement turning on each other and looking for heroes and just trusting everything blindly, I think we're just really lost. And like, Lizzy has never done anything to harm anybody. She's never gone out of her way to spread lies. Maybe some stuff she researched might not have been true. Okay, that's fine. At least she's out there working and putting it out there and trying to do her thing. And we're seeing right now how everybody is starting to turn on everybody else.
Mhm.
And it's just it's scary, because now the government is outlawing any anti-Semitic talk, which means that parts of the Bible are going to be illegal.
Yeah.
So
You know,
yeah, so I guess
with
I'll wrap it up there for now.
with what you're saying and everything, and you're right. There is going to be in times a great deceit.
Mhm.
Is it Trump? I don't think so. He's a good man. He's a great man.
Mhm.
Um, I hope to God not, because I was taken in too. Um, you know, um, but you're right. Like, anybody can be deceived by anything. You know,
Yeah. So
you know,
yeah,
it,
no, it's
and then hell is paved with good intentions, and we all know that. And anybody can make mistakes.
yeah,
But
and
know,
trying to run after truth without divine guidance, or
mm,
anything, is going to lead to deception. It's going to lead to evil spirits that sound good when they hit your ears in it, or your heart.
yeah,
And
if you're not coming from a good place, it's not going to end up in a good place.
exactly. So, okay, well, I'm sorry I rambled that whole time. Thanks for hanging on with me. We're down to under a minute. Are we okay with doing a second video?
Yep.
Okay.
Sure.
So let me get this downloaded to my computer. Let's try and touch base on text, and if you don't hear from me, let's hop back on at the top of the hour in case they mess with our text again,
Okay.
and then we'll start the
Yeah.
real conversation.
Okay.
So,
Topic. Good.
all right, we'll talk to you in about 18 minutes.
All right. See you soon.
Okay.
All right, thanks again, guys.